brand new video. So we're going to talk about luxury price increases, in particular Chanel. And for a while I stopped making price increase videos. I think I only did a couple in the past, like around 2020 when some of the major ones happened. But I kind of stopped because it seemed like there was always a price increase and there was just really no point of announcing it. Because it's been done before. It's even been done in the past, but the thing is because there's a percentage increase and the amounts are larger and larger every time, right? So these increases are exponential, and you know, and we all kind of accepted that they're ridiculous and there's really nothing that we can do about it, unless there was somebody really hunting for that classic flap and really wanted to dive right in right before the next increase so they can save themselves, you know, probably $1,000 at this point. Now, recently, there was an announcement made by sales associates, particularly in the US, not necessarily from Canada, but from the US, who released numbers, confirmed numbers for the price increase that was set to happen by end of January. Now, we're end of January and nothing has happened. And when I saw those numbers, I was like flabbergasted because I wasn't even keeping up with the current prices right now for classic flaps and reissues and minis and such, because it's been a while since I've purchased a classic flap. And when I saw the current numbers and then I looked at like the projected numbers or the confirmed numbers, I was in shock. And I'm like, you know what? I need to film this so that we can just kind of look at these numbers and be like, oh my God. And it was a nice reference for me to show my husband and be like, see, I purchased these and look how much they are now. Now, I released that video and I had a certain inkling that perhaps this might not happen because, again, I don't have a crystal ball. And I put a disclaimer as well in the comment section that, hey, I don't have a crystal ball. There is a small chance that this probably won't happen. And it didn't happen, which is great. But it just, you know, makes me think about like, well, why were numbers released in the first place? Like, why were sales associates giving these numbers? And this happened with Dior as well in 2021. And I remembered I was looking at this exotic mini Lady Dior bag, and I remember I was looking at it and my sales associate was saying there's going to be a massive increase on this. So then I jumped on it, and it was in January 2021. I jumped on it. Not saying that I wouldn't have, I mean, I did like the bag, but I wouldn't have jumped on it as quickly. And I was given a little bit of that push, like, hey, like there's going to be a massive increase on this, because there was an increase before. And it was the Python, silver Python mini Lady Dior bag with the gold hardware, which is a really nice combination. And I jumped on it. Now, it only went up $100 Canadian. So it was more of like a currency adjustment. So I'm like, and I was like, you know, why would you like lie? Like, why would, if you knew, then why would you say that? And perhaps the sales associate didn't know, right? And was given information and then communicated this to their customers, and it didn't happen. Well, anyway, I'm glad I did buy it in the end. I mean, like several years later, because look at the prices now, right? I mean, a small size Lady Dior in the ABC My Lady Dior size is 8,000 Canadian plus tax. So that's going up about $9,500 right now. So, you know, they've gone up a lot, but you know, that happened. And then this, I mean, maybe sales associates were just trying to get them to boost sales in January, like after the holidays. I don't know, I can't really explain it. But the thing is that the prices are so high already that I don't really think anybody is running to the store to buy classic flaps and reissues. Really, I honestly don't see it at this price point. So is it a bubble? Is it a bubble that's going to burst? Is it kind of like real estate market bubbles? And I don't think it is the same, but I think it's the fact that, you know, they can continue to increase their prices and they're very selective about customers. And, you know, people would say like they're pricing people out, and some people would disagree online and say, no, they're not pricing people out. But it just seems like it is. Like, I honestly don't know if they're trying to shoot themselves in the foot. But who really is going to be buying these handbags? And also, I mean, I've discussed this before, is that the benchmark for pricing, I mean, for me, the benchmark was around 5,000, because that's around the price that I paid when I started collecting Chanel classic flaps. And looking at prices that are now upwards of like $12,000, $13,000, $14,000, it, like, for me, I'm flabbergasted. So I'm just thinking about the people that purchase these handbags at like $1,000 or under $1,000, and how they looked at me and thought I was crazy for purchasing these around 5,000. So there probably will be people still buying, but it's less and less. I was discussing with a few people, and they said, well, they're pricing out the middle class. Middle class, too much of the middle class is buying luxury. That may be true. That may be true. They probably don't want their bags to be overexposed. There is way too much information online, to which I contribute as a YouTuber who discusses mainly Chanel, but other luxury houses as well, but mainly Chanel. And there's just, it's not as secretive anymore. It's the allure of that brand or any of these other luxury brands is not there anymore, because there's so much social media exposure on what these bags look like, how much they cost, the purchasing experience. People film in boutiques, and maybe they're trying to limit that traffic to boutiques and make it mysterious again, make it sort of unapproachable again. It really makes me wonder that maybe that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to limit random people coming into their boutiques. Maybe they're trying to just protect their privacy and their allure, and maybe don't want as many people coming into the boutique, yet still profiting somewhat the same, because now they've just jacked up the prices on all of their products. So it seems like that's what the case is they don't want as many clients in their boutiques. But at the same time, yeah, they don't want as many people carrying their bags. I mean, it's overexposed, right? Like, for sure, especially on social media. I mean, we think that everybody and their mother owns a Chanel bag. And while it did seem like that even in the real world with people that I know, people who all of a sudden started buying luxury handbags. But also on social media, there's a lot of exposure, but there's a lot of people that don't have them. I can go to different parts of Toronto where I can walk around and nobody would really know what I'm carrying, even though it's obvious to a lot of us in the luxury community of what these bags are. But there's definitely a lot of awareness. Chanel used to be a very mature brand, at least that's how I perceived it when I was growing up. I thought of the classic flap as like the old lady bag. And Chanel really started to, in my opinion, attract a younger audience around like 2011, 2012. Around when the time the boy bag was released, that's what I observed, is that a lot of younger people were starting to get into the brand and their bags. They really started coming out with a lot of colorful, fun pieces, fun seasonal pieces that would cater to a younger demographic. And maybe they're trying to claw back from that. Maybe they want to now reserve their brand for more of the mature clientele. A clientele that would purchase a lot more of their jewelry, their fine jewelry, and their clothing, and their haute couture. Like, maybe that's what they really want. And they are a clothing fashion brand, right? I mean, that's their DNA. But at the same time, they are creating little baglets, okay? Like little clutches and card holders on chains, things that I wouldn't have classified as a handbag, and now they're classified and priced like a handbag. Like, you'll literally get like a wallet or something on a chain, not a traditional walk, but like some other variation with extra hardware, and that's like close to $6,000. I was in Chanel recently to check out the new collection, and I was like gasping left, right, and center at the prices of cocoa handles, because cocoa handles were like Chanel's best kept secret, where you get a really substantial handbag, and it was priced a lot lower than everything else, and now those are close to 8,000 and up. So it really is interesting, because they're just, the higher these bags go, the more of these little baglets they're coming out with to be, I guess, more attainable to their aspirational clients. You know, they got more costume jewelry, they have a lot more accessories. So is it that they're really trying to price out the middle class? Yes, probably from their handbags, but I guess from the brand itself, I mean, they have so many other products that people could buy. And yeah, and I remember like Super Jacob, check out his channel if you haven't already. He discusses a lot of Chanel. I mean, his old videos are really informative on all their bags, and you know, recently in the last 2 years, he's been doing a lot more discussion videos, you know, criticizing the actions and praising some of the actions of luxury houses, and looking at and analyzing what's happening right now. And he was like, yeah, like they have these aspirational clients, and they're reeling them in with these little baglets and these little clutches and card holders, and selling them the dream of owning a Chanel classic flap, and pricing it in such a way that it's just a couple of steps away, that, you know, they can sort of reach for it, but they can't touch it. And having them chase that brand ideal without actually obtaining it, but in the meantime getting them to buy these little baglets and little accessories to string people along with the brand. So it's the brand itself has a lot to offer, but yes, they're definitely pricing people out for their handbags. And some people say, well, only the super rich can, you know, if you don't have to ask how much it costs, that means you can afford it. And if you have to ask how much it costs, you can't afford it. But there are people who are really, really wealthy and would, probably not even look at handbags right now, because they probably already own them, and they probably already inherited them from their grandparents or something. So they're probably not looking at the bags to purchase. But even if they do, they're also like, what, you know, these prices are ridiculous. Like, I'm not spending that on this, because they can use that money to fund some other, like a vacation or something else that they find value in. So I feel like, they might, I mean, I don't know. I mean, people will definitely buy them, celebrities, young celebrities, and you know, other very wealthy clients who probably wouldn't bat an eye at a $15,000 handbag. But yeah, I really don't know what's going on. So if any of you would like to share some insight or maybe some explanation and ideas, please feel free to comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, I think it's, you know, even looking at my collection, I'm just like, wow, like, okay, I certainly am glad that I purchased my classics first before anything else, and I kind of got those out of the way. And I do love my classics. I love my reissues. I love my classic flaps. And you know, in the recent years, I've been experimenting with a lot more color and more seasonal handbags, because I already have my classics covered. And I definitely am glad. And when I look at them and I'm like, gosh, how much did I pay versus how much they are now? And now I'm starting to feel a little scared to carry them. Sophie Show had mentioned this in a couple of price increases ago, where she was like, you know what, like how much they are now, I don't really want to be out with them, because if somebody sees and they know how much it is now, like it makes you a target. And maybe it's the new mom in me where I'm a little bit more vigilant now and protective. So I feel a little nervous carrying a classic flap out in public, unless it's an area where there are going to be people carrying them. Like there are certain areas of the city where you will spot them just like you would spot an Hermes Birkin. But I wouldn't really carry that. Starting to feel a little bit, not completely, but I'm starting to feel a little bit nervous. I'm like, like, I mean, at some point I'm going to be like, I don't really want to carry this anymore, right? Because of the safety aspect. Super Jacob had spoken about a recent experience shopping in boutique. Now, I'm not sure exactly where he's located, but it sounds to me that whenever he would visit the boutiques, they would be super busy and the sales associates are in a rush going from client to client, kind of like how I feel at Hermès in Toronto, but super busy Chanel boutiques. And this time when he went, it was pretty empty because there aren't as many people flocking in to buy the next handbag because they're priced out. But he had a better one-on-one experience where like it was resembling some of the experiences he had many years ago, where he could sit down with a sales associate, maybe have a coffee or, water or beverage or something, and discuss the collection, discuss the piece, really analyze the piece together, and having a better sales experience. Now for me, I don't really go shopping when it's busy. I try to avoid it when it's busy because it just, I like that one-on-one experience. So I tend to go to boutiques when it's not busy. So I've never really had that experience of being rushed. But I can definitely appreciate that if people, don't get that, like this is a really nice experience. And it makes me think about, I don't know, like they haven't really put this into place yet, but there was an announcement of Chanel opening up VIP boutiques where they're not necessarily selling handbags and leather goods, but they're more so going to create boutiques that cater to clothing and haute couture and really catering to that clientele because they want to give them a calmer experience, especially when you're spending that kind of money. Even like high fine jewelry, if you're purchasing like a $70,000 to $5 million necklace, then you don't want to be there in a boutique where it's bustling with people looking at card holders. You want more of a calm, inviting experience when you're spending that level of money. So maybe they're kind of pulling back from that because that's quite expensive to open. Because you got to think about like where they would be opening it, the real estate costs, the rental costs, taxes, etc. And they're probably like, you know what, let's claw back from that idea and let's work with the infrastructure that we have and creating that experience in our boutiques, so that they're trying to limit all these people running in so that they have a calmer environment for these clients to shop in. Another concept that comes to mind with all of these price increase videos is resale market. Okay, so the resale market is definitely tanking for sure right now, but when you're looking at handbags, and I talked about this before, and the handbags are like close to 15,000. You can't expect to buy the handbag and think, oh well, I'm going to make money on it by selling it. First of all, no one's going to buy that from you at close to retail if they can just buy retail in store. There is the idea of super fakes, where people are a lot more cautious buying secondhand because of these super fakes, because authentication, yeah, it's there, but I mean, there's always a margin of error, and especially with the rapid evolution of super fakes, it's really hard for even authenticators to keep up, and they can be fooled. So people who are buying on the resale market, unless it's a really good deal, not super amazing, because if it's too good to be true, then it's too good to be true, but definitely wanting a bargain, right? Like if I was going to buy something on the resale market in the form of a classic flap, then I would expect a savings of $3,000 or $4,000 off retail. I'm not buying close to retail because then I'll be purchasing a boutique, unless it was one of those unicorn items where it's so hot and you really want it and you won't get it again. Then yes, that was the only case where you would spend over retail to purchase it. But in general, no one's going to be buying close to the prices now on the resale market. If you're looking for a jumbo or a medium, more so a jumbo, because those tend to sell for less on the resale market. But if you're not getting a bargain, then there's no point. Then you can just purchase in boutique, or just opt out of it in general. People also talk about buying for resale value. And yes, that was the case before, where people would say, oh, like stick to Chanel, stick to, Dior, stick to LV, stick to Hermès. Well, Hermès is a different story in itself, but more so Chanel. And if you purchase, then, it's better for resale value later. And that's not the case anymore. Even if you buy classics, I don't think that's the case anymore. Really now it's about, okay, just buy what you want, because collectively all other brands are also increasing their prices a lot. And so at this level, I mean, who's really going to be buying it off of you? Unless you're offering them a really, really good deal. Otherwise, they're not going to buy it. Another idea that comes to mind is the replica market. There is so much more social media awareness, especially on TikTok, which is a platform that caters to a lot of Gen Z and younger people, and they openly advertise where they get their super fakes from. And they will point to websites like DHgate, which is kind of like an Amazon in China, and manufacturing and selling fakes in North America is illegal. But importing them from China isn't so much. And I had to look at the website, and it's crazy because you see these bags and the logo is like not there, but when you get it, so I see on videos on TikTok, that they look pretty bang on. Unless somebody's gonna feel your bag and touch it and smell it. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, from looking at it with the naked eye, it looks pretty convincing. And for the purposes of people buying these bags where they just want to show it in a photo and not actually use the handbag to a degree where, luxury or good craftsmanship would be useful if you're going to be using it every day. And that's another that's another tangent that I will go on. But there really isn't any point to buying authentic for them, because they just want to wear it a handful of times, take a couple of pictures, and there you go. And they're spending like $50 to $100 on this handbag. So they're like, in the comment section, people are like, wow, like I got this, and they're sharing all these tips of like sellers on the platform, and how much more authentic looking their bag is versus another. And like, they've come a long way. So people aren't even now going to resale, they're looking at this, and it's definitely welcomed within this cohort who wouldn't ever afford a $15,000 handbag given the living wages that we're given now for most of these people. The authentic items, the quality is declining for sure. I mean, I've been quite diligent at what I choose in terms of handbags. There are definitely some bags that I'll see in store where I just like steer clear. I'm like, okay, that already looks lopsided and fake anyway. Like, I wouldn't even buy that. So generally, for the most part, whatever I do buy, I inspect. But again, I could also be fooled. But the quality is really declining, and more so than ever. And is there really a point to buying brand new in store? Because people aren't really using these handbags. They're just buying and buying and buying, myself included. I mean, I'm guilty of this. I have multiple handbags and I don't use every one. Maybe my older ones, I get a lot more wear out of them, but I'm not heavily using each of these bags. So I don't really realize the potential of superb craftsmanship if it was there. You really, really realize the potential of superb craftsmanship if you use that bag every single day, and you can comment on it like several years later and say, look how pristine my bag looks because this is really good quality leather. I don't think anybody really has done that. Unless there is a person who has one or two bags and they rotate between the two and they heavily use them, and then yeah, they get the benefit of the superb craftsmanship and the luxury stitching and all that and the leather and the materials. But like, if nobody's really using their handbags, then does it really matter? Lastly, everybody will always make the argument, well, at these prices I might as well go to Hermes. Now, Hermes did have a price increase, which wasn't small, but definitely, I mean, not as like aggressive as Chanel, but still high. Several things actually increased. Even their equestrian pieces went up a couple of $100. Jewelry has gone up. Like, a lot of pieces did go up, even bags as well. And I've said it again, you cannot just go over to Hermes and say, well, I'm not spending 15K on a Chanel bag. I'll put that money towards an MS bag. You can't do that. People are aware, and maybe people need to be reminded that there's a journey or like the MS game to play where you need pre-spend to be offered a handbag. Yes, some people do get lucky and get a bag without any spend, and I will film a video on how I've acquired MS bags at some point whenever I have time. But yes, I have experienced getting lucky without having any spend. Or rather my husband, but we'll go into that in another video. But for the most part, you need spend. And when you have competition, the more people who are going to be competing for these bags, guess what? The more people are going to be expected to spend in order to outshine other potential competitors in the boutique to be offered that one bag. So it's not so easy. People can't just go over to Hermes and buy a handbag. Then, you know, what happens now is the Hermes boutiques are busier than ever because everybody's trying. They're all flocking over, but it's not going to be any easier. And in fact, it's going to be harder to get offered a bag the traditional way, which is to spend and show loyalty and get a bag. Yes, some people, a handful of people may just get lucky and walk in, and that day there may be stock in, that sales associate might be approved to sell 2 bags that day, and maybe they'll be able to offer it to you, right? That's a unicorn experience, and it does happen, but it's not very common. So those are just some of my ramblings and thoughts about this price increase. I did make some notes here. I think I've covered everything. So I honestly don't know what their motives are, to be frank. And I don't think anybody ever will know what their motives are. It's a mystery. The Chanel price increase is a mystery, just like the Hermes journey is a mystery. Okay, so Hermes has its own mystery of how they offer their bags and how they allocate their bags, and you know, whether there is link spending or not. And Chanel will have its own mystery with its price increases. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope to see and read some of your comments in the section below. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. I am uploading intermittently just because life with a baby is a little bit chaotic and there isn't as much time to sit down when it's calm to film. So do turn on the notification bell so that you're notified every time I do upload a new video, and I will see you next time. Bye.